We learned that this week that Elmo is a evil racist extremist. Elmo got hacked this week. You can look it up. It's something, let me tell you. So Elmo's crash out is happening because the federal government is cutting the funding to something that we don't need anymore. These are things like from a bygone era. Listen, when this stuff was like all created in NPR and PBS, it's like 70 years ago. And the argument there was that like poor people in the middle of nowhere can't get media and they need to know what's going on. And oh shucks, like it's important for the government to tell them what's going on. We got to have government funded media. No, we don't. Maybe that like yokel garbage could have worked for a time gone by and for generations gone by, but not for us. We clearly don't need government propaganda. And if you need like a perfect example as to why this is important, please grab me. Perfect. Yes. Okay. Catherine Mayer. Thank you, ALX. Perfection. The head of NPR has like explained it spectacularly. Here's one great example that I think was promoted yesterday by Elon Musk, that NPR refuses to post on X, but they post constantly on Blue Sky, which is of course like smooth brain, blue anon, bot farming, left wing, psycho ecosystem. But they refuse to post on X, where billions of users break the world's news. It's not a news organization. It's a Democrat PR firm. Same with PBS. And it's incredible to actually see it defunded. It's something that Republicans have been talking about for a very long time. Very fever, wet dream kind of thing. Like, oh, we'll defund NPR. No one's ever had the balls to even like try and do it. And now it's been done, ladies and gentlemen. The rescission package passed the Senate. It's heading back to the House. So here's Thune getting shouted down in the Senate. Here we go.
You know, our country is $36 trillion in debt. We can't keep doing the things the way... $36 trillion in debt.
Senate will be in order.
$36 trillion in debt. We can't keep doing things the way we've been doing them. 0.1% of all federal spending. But it's a step in the right direction, and it's the first time we've done anything like this in 35 years.
Ladies and gentlemen, they also defunded USAID and made this permanent. Obviously, what President Trump can do from an executive order perspective is one thing. But what Congress actually does is tell the government how it can and cannot spend money. Executive orders can be undone by the pen. They can be tied up in obviously in trials and in lawsuits. But bills from Congress are a totally different monster. It's actually how the government is supposed to run. The government is supposed to run by Congress writing, passing a bill, and having that bill signed into law through the presidency and then judicial review. When you just circumvent all of that with executive orders, it's not the best way to do it. This is the best way to do it, and this is for real. So we're proud, very, very proud of the Republicans in Congress. Some of them were on our show this week when we were up in Congress just a day ago talking about this, and well done, Republicans. USAID fraud. USAID gave known con man $800 million contract to do Kamala's work on root causes of migration. Look at this. Just a couple of examples. $800 million to these scumbags. What, like, have you gotten an $800 million check from the federal government? Like, do you understand the level of absolute and total graft and corruption that's going on here? Let me tell you what happened. The $800 million, so guys, here's $800 million. It's a lot of money. Let's just round it up to $1 billion. They take $500 million of it and put it in their own bank accounts like immediately, right? That's just my fee. You're my fee. They take that. Then they funnel that money through ActBlue in small dollar donations through a algorithm and an equation that they've worked out into the pockets of Democrats and maybe Republicans who will vote for more USAID funding. It's a self-licking ice cream cone. Do you understand how the fraud works? Yeah. ActBlue busted and they're cornered and nowhere to run. This is the DOJ investigation that I so desperately want to see. Obviously, along with President Trump endorsing a Jeffrey Epstein special counsel. We'll get to that in just a moment. This is obviously where the Republican Party needs to go next. And this is so easy to do, you know, because it's just identity theft. And there's such harsh federal protections for identity theft. And all you need is one case. And there's probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions of cases of identity theft through ActBlue. I personally know like 20 people who've had their identities stolen and then have donated as zombie donors for the Democrat Party. One guy lives on my block, has Parkinson's, and is this kindly old Republican who has Parkinson's and doesn't, really do much of anything. And I checked, and that dude's like donating to Democrats in Maine and in Missouri. And that's not true. I've checked it myself. So all it needs is like a couple of attorney generals with some balls to actually go in and like fix this. It's a wonderful thing, ladies and gentlemen. USAID official and 3 corporate executives pled guilty to decades-long bribery scheme over $550 million in contracts. How is this defensible? It's not defensible. It is indefensible. Politico, we're talking about like the funding of Democrat media. Politico received an insane amount of money from the federal government in the form of subscriptions. Oh, okay, got it. Well, we sell keychains, right, and coffee mugs around here. And so why can't the Trump administration just go buy hundreds of thousands of Benny Brigade subscriptions or memberships? Like, do you see the corruption here? Look at this. This is insane. This is when Politico is carrying water. Look at the level of government spending on Politico subscriptions. That's when the Politico is carrying water for the Biden regime. Tell me that is not payola. Tell me that is not pay for play. This is when that spike. Politico ran the Hunter Biden laptop Russian all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation campaign. As soon as they ran that up for the deep state, look at that. Well, that's a little payoff there, isn't it? It's being defunded. It's a beautiful thing, and it's more important than ever. We really don't need any more government-funded media. There are so many media outlets. There's so much disbursement of information. There's so much out there. There's so many people that are doing great work. And we're doing our very best, level-headed best, to deliver for you every single day. That's why we'll be having one of Epstein's cellmates. I mean, it took us a second to track this guy down. We're having a mobster and an Epstein cellmate on the show to just like explain what's going on. We're tired of speculating. Let's just do the real work, right? These people don't do real work. Just a reminder on the Hunter Biden laptop thing. Was it NPR, ALX, that put up a tweet that's like, we won't be covering the Hunter Biden laptop because we only cover real news. Yeah, that was NPR. Here's the head of NPR, somebody named Catherine Mayer, who literally said that the First Amendment is the biggest challenge in America because we don't actually want any more truth. It seems like that's just like a slander from me against her. And like, that's just like something I'm making up. Like it's a meme, right? The head of NPR doesn't want truth in America. She hates the First Amendment. But it's on tape. Okay, it's on tape. Here we go.
The number one challenge here that we see is, of course, the First Amendment in the United States is a fairly robust protection of rights. And that is a protection of rights both for platforms, which I actually think is very important, that platforms have those rights to be able to regulate what kind of content they want on their sites. But it also means that it is a little bit tricky to really address some of the real challenges of where does bad information come from and sort of the influence peddlers who have made a real market economy around.
It's really not about truth. It's really not about the First Amendment. Okay, it's really tricky because we shouldn't really be seeking truth, says Catherine Mayer in her TED Talk. Here we go. So,
one of the most significant differences, critical for moving from polarization to productivity, is that the Wikipedians who write these articles aren't actually focused on finding the truth. They're working for something that's a little bit more attainable, which is the best of what we can know right now. And after 7 years there, I actually believe that they're onto something. That for our most tricky disagreements, seeking the truth and seeking to convince others of the truth isn't necessarily the best place to start. In fact,
that lady gets billions of dollars of your money. You know how much money I get from the federal government? I get a gun to my head saying pay your taxes, otherwise we'll shut you down every year. That's what I get. I get nothing. Nobody gets anything. Did Charlie Kirk, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Steve Bannon? None of these guys that I roll with get anything. Dan Bongino, back when he was podcasting, he gets nothing. Instead, we all get like a target on us. Say if we don't pay every cent and more in taxes, then we're all going to prison. Trust me, they're excited to send us. So yeah, the lady that says there is no truth, that we're not trying to find truth, and that our biggest problem is the First Amendment, she gets billions of dollars from a federal government run by Republicans. It's insanity. It's suicidal, actually. You want to talk about a suicide mission, metaphorically. Brandon Gill, who's a friend of our program, an excellent member of Congress, had Catherine Mayer in front of him in Congress. I've never seen a gutting like this, and it's worth playing a slightly longer clip for it, because this is the greatest humiliation I've seen in the history of Congress. And we watch hundreds of thousands of hours of congressional testimony. This is the worst. Here we go.
Do you believe that America is addicted to white supremacy?
I believe that I tweeted that, and as I've said earlier, I believe much of my thinking has evolved over the last half decade.
It has evolved. Why did you tweet that?
I don't recall the exact context, sir, so I wouldn't be able to say.
Okay. Do you believe that America believes in black plunder and white democracy?
I don't believe that, sir.
You tweeted that in reference to a book you were reading at the time, apparently, The Case for Reparations.
I don't think I've ever read that book, sir.
You tweeted about it. You said you took a day off to fully read The Case for Reparations. You put that on Twitter in January of 2020.
Apologies, I don't recall that I did.
Okay.
I'd no doubt that your tweet there is correct, but I don't recall that.
Okay. Do you believe that white people inherently feel superior to other races?
I do not.
You don't? You tweeted something to that effect. You said, I grew up feeling superior. How white of me. Why did you tweet that?
I think I was probably reflecting on what it was to grow up in an environment where I had lots of advantages.
It sounds like you're saying that white people feel superior.
I don't believe that anybody feels that way, sir. I was just reflecting on my own experiences.
Do you think that white people should pay reparations?
I have never said that, sir.
Yes, you did. You said it in January of 2020. You tweeted, yes, the North, yes, all of us, yes, America, yes, our original collective sin and unpaid debt, yes, reparations, yes, on this day.
I don't believe that was a reference to fiscal reparations, sir.
What kind of reparations was it a reference to?
I think it was just a reference to the idea that we all owe much to the people who came before us.
That's a bizarre way to frame what you tweeted. Okay, how much reparations have you personally paid?
Sir, I don't believe that I've ever paid reparations.
Okay, it's just for everybody else.
I'm not asking anyone to pay reparations.
Seems to be what you're
sir.
suggesting. Do you believe that looting is morally wrong?
I believe that looting is illegal, and I refer to it as counterproductive. I think it should be prosecuted.
Do you believe it's morally wrong, though?
Of course.
Of course. Then why did you refer to it as counterproductive? It's a very different way to describe it.
It is both morally wrong and counterproductive, as well as being illegal.
You tweeted, it's hard to be mad about protests in reference to the BLM protests, not prioritizing the private property of a system of oppression. You didn't condemn the looting. You said that it was counterproductive. NPR also promoted a book called In Defense of Looting. Do you think that that's an appropriate use of taxpayer dollars?
I'm unfamiliar with that book, sir, and I don't believe that was at my time at NPR.
You tweeted that you read that book, but...
I don't believe that I did read that book.
Cheers for Brandon Gill. Well done, Brandon Gill. This is exactly how you gut these swamp creatures. This is exactly how you gut a fish. I mean, in a congressional testimony. You just take their words and you shove their nose in it. You do it like a dog. You just take their face and you shove it. And it's perfect. It's just, I mean, if there's anything that got NPR defunded, it was actually that testimony.